My name is Sadie Klonel, and I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I own Knox Revival Paint Company. Choosing stain for a door is one of the more complicated things in a house. People get super frustrated, they're overwhelmed, they don't know what to pick. It's a very permanent, lasting decision that you really don't want to have to redo. You know, you want to factor in all of the other colors around the house before you do the front door, even if it's just getting a scrap piece of something and holding that paint up next to it. Or if you're lucky enough, like me, to have a sample, you can hold it up next to the siding, and that's helpful. I think it's looking pretty good, and I hope the homeowner's happy. With this particular door, it was already stained previously. We sanded it down to change the color to match the floors in the house. I always stir the stain, especially if it's oil-based stain. You want to make sure that all of the pigment is stirred up from the bottom because it will all sink. I usually stir it after every area if I'm going slowly. Anytime I'm staining, I always start an area that I can finish at the same time. I usually keep enough stain just to keep it wet. You don't want to put too much stain on your brush, because if you pile it on, you get to the end and it's all gotten dry over there, it can make your finish uneven. You want to make it thin, but thick enough to where you can see it covering, but you want to still be able to see the grain through the stain. With a wood like this, the grain is super, super tight. And so I usually wipe in a circular motion just to make sure that it penetrates. If you're using a wood that's like oak or pine or something that's softer, it doesn't really make a difference because it's penetrating no matter what. You can always go over it. Again, stain, you know, you can always control how dark it gets, how light it gets. As long as it's not dry, if I have a spot that I miss and I go to touch it up, it doesn't matter as long as you wipe it in the same speed. If it runs into another direction of grain, you want to go ahead and do it in that order. Because I did this flat first and it's touching this long run and it's touching this long run, I'm going to go ahead and do this run first, finish it all the way out, and then I'll go over there and finish that one all the way out. Lucky enough, I have somebody here helping me, so that makes it a little bit easier for me. Anywhere you touch, finish that space as fast as you can. A lot of people don't stain inside of the door hole. You don't have to. I do because I like the aesthetics of it if for some reason your doorknob gets loose and you can see inside of it. But regardless, I would always put the clear coat that you use on the top inside, or if it's a 2-in-1 and your clear's inside of your stain, I would make sure and stain in there and get all the way into where these locks go, because water can get in behind the locks and it can still cause water damage to your door. With the tops and the bottoms, you don't have to stain them as long as they're sealed. I stain them just because I like the extra layer of protection. Even when you open your door, a lot of times people don't think about the fact that if you're upstairs and your door opens, if you haven't stained the top of your door, you can see the raw wood. Probably won't see the bottom and there'll be weather stripping, but at least seal both of those with a clear coat. We're gonna put a coat of clear, and then we go back once that first coat is on and we're gonna sand it with finer grits. I probably will start with something like 320 and then do one more quick pass with 400. Especially in water-based stain, it does get bubbles. Even if it looks smooth, there may still be air bubbles in it. That makes it so that it's flat, and that means that the door has a solid clear coat that is firmly on the door. There's no room for anything to get underneath it. Then we'll go clean it off, vacuum, wipe it, whatever you feel is necessary depending on how much is coming off of the door. We will then put a second coat of clear. Usually after the second coat of clear, you do not need to sand it. Basically, adding that next layer of protection is the same concept as applying a higher SPF of sunscreen. So you're adding more protection. Sealing inside of the corners of the windows or any of the grids that are in the door, you want to make sure that you evenly feather out the corners. If you leave something that's like a puddle in the corner of the door, it will dry and it will look white because water-based clears start white. You always want to make sure that you do seal in the corners because the wood is put together in the corners, and where that miter cut is, you want to make sure that the sealant is in there so that water doesn't get in the edges. So if you bend down and get it to where you've got light shining, you can easily see where the clear is covered and where it's not. So I thought I was good. I got down here and I look, and there's an area in here that I need to feather out more. because it was pooling, and when I was above it, I couldn't see at all. So it's always helpful to go different angles and just check to see where the clear is and where it's not, because you can always see the dry.